Deep in the Florida wilderness, where ancient cypress trees cast shadows that never fully lift, investigators discovered evidence of an encounter so disturbing that official reports remained sealed for decades. The case of Laura Parish challenges every assumption about what lurks in the remote corners of our world, and the fragments of truth that have emerged suggest something far more terrifying than any conventional explanation could contain. But before we uncover the mystery, hit that subscribe button below. It was March 15th, 1987, in the early hours before dawn, when 23-year-old Laura Parish drove her silver Honda Civic down State Road 440 through the Ocala National Forest. The road stretched endlessly through towering pines and palmetto scrub, a corridor of asphalt cutting through 386,000 acres of some of Florida's most primitive wilderness. Laura, a marine biology graduate student at the University of Florida, was traveling to collect water samples from Silver Springs for her thesis research on aquifer contamination. Her advisor, Professor Margaret Chen, had specifically requested samples taken during the pre-dawn hours when tourist boat traffic remained minimal and natural conditions prevailed. The last confirmed sighting of Laura came from a gas station security camera in Ocala, where she purchased coffee and a pack of crackers at 2:47 in the morning. The timestamp showed her looking tired but alert, her long brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, wearing the khaki field clothes typical of her research work. What happened next would perplex investigators for months and leave questions that remain unanswered to this day. 6:32 that morning, a Florida Highway Patrol officer discovered Laura's Honda abandoned on the shoulder of State Road 440, approximately 12 miles southeast of the gas station. The vehicle sat perfectly positioned, hazard lights still blinking, driver's door standing wide open. Her research equipment remained neatly organized in the back seat, but Laura had vanished without explanation. The initial search revealed details that defied easy interpretation. Laura's hiking boots sat beside the car, laces still tied, positioned with an odd precision that suggested deliberate placement rather than hurried removal. Her wallet, containing $63 and all identification, lay undisturbed on the dashboard. Most peculiar of all, her car keys dangled from the ignition, engine still running after what investigators estimated was nearly 4 hours. Marion County Sheriff's Department launched an extensive ground search within hours of the discovery. Search and rescue teams with tracking dogs combed the dense forest on both sides of the highway, following protocols established for missing person cases in wilderness areas. The bloodhounds picked up Laura's scent immediately, leading searchers along a path that began at the passenger side of her vehicle. The trail wound through thick palmetto undergrowth for approximately 200 yards before reaching a small clearing where it abruptly ended. The dogs circled the area repeatedly, whining and showing signs of distress, but could detect no trace of the scent beyond that point. Search Coordinator Deputy Robert Martinez noted in his report that the clearing contained no obvious signs of struggle or disturbance. The ground showed minimal compression, inconsistent with any kind of violent encounter or prolonged activity. Yet something had clearly transpired in that isolated space deep in the forest. On the third day of searching, investigators made a discovery that shifted the entire focus of the case. Crime scene technicians processing the clearing found a series of shallow depressions in the sandy soil, arranged in what appeared to be a deliberate pattern. The impressions measured approximately 8 inches in diameter and 2 inches deep, forming a rough circle about 12 feet across. More disturbing still, forensic analysis revealed that these depressions contained traces of an unknown organic compound that laboratory testing could not identify. The substance exhibited properties unlike any known biological material, showing characteristics that seemed to shift depending on the analytical method employed. Dr. Harrison Webb, the forensic chemist assigned to analyze the samples, documented his findings in a report that would later be partially redacted. According to available portions, the compound demonstrated what he described as anomalous molecular behavior and structures inconsistent with terrestrial organic chemistry. His recommendation for further study by specialists at the Centers for Disease Control was apparently never implemented. The investigation took another unsettling turn when detectives interviewed Harold Voss, an elderly man who lived in a trailer on private land adjacent to the national forest. Voss, a Korean War veteran who had resided in the area for over 20 years, provided testimony that investigators initially dismissed as the ramblings of an isolated eccentric. According to Voss, he had been awakened around 3:30 that morning by what he described as a sound like singing, but not human singing. When pressed for details, he explained that the vocalizations seemed to come from multiple sources, creating harmonies that no human throat could produce. The sounds, he claimed, continued for nearly an hour before fading into the pre-dawn silence. Voss also reported seeing unusual lights moving through the forest canopy during the same time period. These lights, which he described as too bright to be flashlights but too small to be vehicles, appeared to dance among the treetops in patterns that defied explanation. When investigators asked why he had not reported these observations immediately, Voss replied that strange phenomena occurred regularly in that part of the forest, and locals had learned to avoid investigating such disturbances. The credibility of Voss's account improved significantly when investigators discovered that his observations aligned precisely with the estimated timeline of Laura's disappearance. Moreover, a review of local emergency service records revealed that Voss had never previously reported any unusual incidents, despite his claim that such events occurred frequently. As the search entered its second week, teams expanded their efforts to include aerial reconnaissance and ground-penetrating radar surveys of the clearing and surrounding areas. The radar detected several subsurface anomalies, including what appeared to be a network of tunnels or cavities extending deep into the limestone bedrock characteristic of Central Florida's geology. Attempts to explore these underground spaces met with immediate complications. The first team of spelunkers lowered into the largest cavity reported equipment malfunctions within minutes of descent. Flashlights failed simultaneously, radio communication became impossible, and temperature readings fluctuated wildly between extreme heat and cold. When the team was extracted after only 20 minutes underground, they reported disorientation and conflicting accounts of what they had observed. One member insisted they had descended only 30 feet, while another claimed they had rappelled more than 200 feet through multiple chambers. Most disturbing of all, their equipment showed evidence of exposure to electromagnetic fields far stronger than anything that should exist naturally in Limestone Cave. The underground exploration was permanently suspended after the second attempt resulted in hospitalization of the entire three-member team. Medical records from Ocala Regional Medical Center, heavily redacted in available documents, reference severe neurological symptoms and unexplained physiological responses that required extended observation. Meanwhile, the surface investigation continued to yield increasingly bizarre evidence. Forest Service rangers reported that vegetation in a quarter-mile radius around the clearing had begun exhibiting unusual characteristics. Pine trees showed accelerated growth patterns, with some specimens adding several inches of height in a matter of days. More peculiarly, the needles of these trees had developed an iridescent quality that seemed to shift color depending on viewing angle. Soil samples from the affected area revealed mineral compositions that geologists could not explain. The presence of rare earth elements in concentrations far exceeding natural levels suggested some form of contamination, yet no known industrial processes could account for the specific combination of materials detected. Dr. Patricia Hernandez, a botanist from Florida State University, called in to study the vegetation changes, documented her findings in reports that were immediately classified by federal authorities. Leaked portions of her work reference unprecedented cellular mutations and genetic modifications inconsistent with known environmental factors. 3 weeks after Laura's disappearance, the official search was quietly suspended. Sheriff's Department records indicate that the case remained open, but active investigation effectively ceased. The last entry in the case file, dated April 8, 1987, contains only a brief notation: federal jurisdiction assumed. All physical evidence transferred to undisclosed location for specialized analysis. Laura Parish was never found, and no trace of her fate has ever been officially acknowledged. Her family's attempts to obtain information through Freedom of Information Act requests have yielded only heavily redacted documents that raise more questions than they answer. However, unofficial accounts from local residents suggest that the strange phenomena in that section of Ocala National Forest did not end with the suspension of the official investigation. Hikers and hunters continue to report unusual encounters, including sightings of lights moving through the forest canopy and sounds that seem to emanate from beneath the ground itself. Most unsettling of all are the recurring reports of a figure observed walking among the trees in the early morning hours. Witnesses describe a young woman matching Laura's general appearance, always seen at a distance, always moving deeper into the forest when approached. These sightings occur exclusively in the area surrounding the clearing where her trail went cold 47 years ago. The few photographs allegedly taken of this figure show only blurred images that could be dismissed as natural shadows or photographic artifacts. Yet the consistency of the descriptions reported by witnesses with no knowledge of each other's accounts suggests something more substantial than mere wishful thinking or shared delusion. What do you think really happened to Laura Parish in those dark hours before dawn in the Ocala National Forest? Share your thoughts about the mysterious evidence found in that clearing and what might still lurk beneath the Florida wilderness. Subscribe to explore more cases where the official reports tell only part of a much darker story.